Hello, I'm Michael Berg.
Andrew Berg.
And welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football. This is week 9. Before we begin the scores, we'd just like to point out that actually we've seen some parity. We've seen some great parity actually this year. We've seen some of the teams that got off to great starts have shown some vulnerability, and some teams that got off to such poor starts are now actually starting to bring themselves more towards the pack, putting themselves in a position for a wild card, even potential divisional wins.
Well, looking at the standings, it looks like we have a clear-cut basement, and then we have some team, and our wild card race is starting to see some separation here. It looks like we're looking at a 5-team race for 3 spots right now. But let's go into the games and see what happened. Our first game of the week was a do-or-die game for these two teams in the AFC.
The Falcons.
Yep, the blitzing Falcons were seeing some harsh times of late, but this was a good game overall.
I believe you two had identical records actually entering this contest.
That's why it was a do-or-die game. It's 2 teams sat at 3 and 5.
Right. I think when you look at this, the Falcons actually won this game, by margin of 12. And it's not like you didn't have opportunities to win this game. You started the wrong defense. Now, to me, I probably would have started Seattle as well against Tampa Bay, but who would have thought that Seattle actually would come out to a huge margin?
Sometimes you can't predict the Mike James throwing touchdown.
No, sometimes you can't do that. Who would have thought that Tampa Bay would have gone on such a run to start the game? And Kansas City comes up with no offensive touchdowns and winds up with 2 defensive scores.
No, it broke the one way for a blitz. And you look at their free agency moves of the week; they were smooth all together. Tennessee puts up probably the best offensive blitz I've seen all year at that position with 28.
Just by looking at the Falcons' numbers, they wound up getting 18 from Russell Wilson. A lot of it came from the second half. And Andre Johnson finally had a breakout game for him with 3 touchdown passes.
Welcome to fantasy football, Andre Johnson. It took him 9 weeks, but that pick finally gave him a victory.
That's right.
And it could have come at a better time for the Falcons, who have been mild in mediocrity all season. This was a game they had to have, and they got it.
And they got it. Now they have the opportunity to get back to 500 with their next game. They could have started Washington and gotten more points, but I think the real story is that you elected to go with Seattle over Kansas City, and that actually was the major difference, despite Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham coming up with 12 points apiece.
No, it's what it came down to at the end of the day. The Blitz, this is 5 in a row now. It was a 3-1 start, and they just have not been able to live off of... Too many opponents this week have come out with all guns blazing, as everyone has beaten up on the Super Bowl champs indeed this season.
Yep. So right now, you're a seller.
Yeah, it's right now I definitely call myself a seller at this year's deadline. Inquire within. Moving on, we got System of the Down versus Maximus, or I like to call System of the Down versus that expansion team, because this was embarrassing.
I give a lot of credit to the System of the Down. The System of the Down actually are one of the hottest teams in the league. They've put themselves back over 500 after starting 1-4 this year. They've done an excellent job. They got great numbers out of New England and Tom Brady over the weekend.
Welcome back, Tom Brady, by the way.
I know, 24 points, not bad considering that he was not scoring a lot as of late. And San Diego gave him okay numbers, but I think the real key is that Carolina only allowed 4 points on defense. But Maximus is still, once again, well, they didn't submit a lineup this week, actually. They were the only team that did not submit a lineup.
I can tell you what separates this game. See, you said Carolina allowed 4 points on defense. Maximus allowed 55 points on defense against Pittsburgh. That's about a 51-point differential at that position alone.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to win many games if your defense actually allows 55 points.
Yeah,
and winds up starting Isaiah P. as their star running back.
When Oakland's defense was the preferable option this week, that's when you know you should have submitted a lineup.
And you know what? You could have done a much better job considering you got great numbers from T.Y. Hilton in this game. But unfortunately, when you allow 55 points of defense, there's not much you're going to be able to do. The System of the Down could have just beaten him just by starting Tom Brady.
Man, well, System of the Down, they don't have to do anything when your opponent allows 55 points on defense. It's got to sit down there and smile because you don't need to do anything else.
To Ariel, this was just a gimme game, and he continues his strong winning streak right now as he moves within one of the wild card positions.
Yeah, Ariel takes the win nicely. Isaiah P. continues to start, and I don't understand why he's on a roster, let alone starting.
That's a good question. This is Joe McKnight.
Yeah, I know. I may have lost Joe McKnight, but I found my friend in Isaiah P. this year.
I don't even think he's played. It's not even the right zip code.
2-7 expansion team. This season's over. It's been a train wreck fantasy season for Maximus.
It has.
Hopefully he can learn. Hopefully he's a seller at the deadline and acquire some draft picks.
That's what I would do.
Moving on, the Hot Rods playing the Killer Toads, and I actually give the Hot Rods credit for not giving up on this season.
Yeah, the Hot Rods have bounced back nicely just a little bit, despite the fact they left a huge void at the wide receiving position. So they were actually playing with one player less.
I guess they knew the obvious. Brian Hartline was not scoring.
Yes, so he decided to leave it blank. But you know what? That actually turned out to be good enough against the Killer Toads. And the biggest story of this game, I understand, starting the Colts offense, they put up good, respectable numbers, 27. But unfortunately, Philadelphia was the right play. Who would have thought that Philadelphia would have
after letting the Killer Toads down last week, Philadelphia comes back and shows why they were such a dangerous offensive pick to begin with. And the Killer Toads just haven't figured out when to use them.
I think that's the key. When he used them, he haven't scored. When he doesn't use them, they wind up scoring a lot of points. But keep in mind, the Eagles are much better on the road this year than they are at home. And that's something you have to take into consideration.
Terrell Pryor, I don't know how he walked away with no points this week.
He walked away with no points after having a great week against Pittsburgh. He could have started Matt Ryan, which had 6, but it wouldn't have made much of a difference. The real key here was Philadelphia. And he seems to, have trouble deciding which offense actually to use during the course of the week still.
Yeah. The Hot Rods, they kind of mellowed out. This was kind of what they usually do this week. Andrew Luck, another great game with 18. Hey, Chris Ivory, welcome to fantasy football too.
Finally got his first touchdown of the season, so contributed with 6. The real story with this is Andrew Luck had a phenomenal game with 18. Jets put a respectable number against a high-flying New Orleans team. Despite the Rodgers injury, he still wound up with 20 points offensively. So he still gets a check mark. He barely beat the Killer Toads, but you know what? He still gets a check mark. He picks up his 3rd win of the season.
It comes at a cost as always, because I can't imagine how high-flying the Green Bay's offensively have Seneca Wallace for the rest of the season.
I know. Well, we'll see if Rodgers comes back. He should come back, but for now, the Hot Rods are going to have to look elsewhere for offensively.
He said he's going to be out for 6 weeks with a broken collarbone.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
He's not going to be back in time for the Hot Rods to make
let's see what the
difference.
Hot Rods elect to do. Do they elect to ride with Seneca Wallace, or do they elect to choose one of the other offenses?
Yeah, look, 3-6. This loss hurts Rob a lot more as Rob now falls out of the wild card race. More importantly,
and he drops below 500 at 4-5. So he's still within reach. I mean,
he's still out there.
Still within reach.
He's still out there, but
still floating, but certainly doesn't have a lot of momentum right now.
Moving on. Pigskins versus Solamente. Well,
I survived.
Yeah, somewhere up there. I don't know what luck you've been running on this season, Signs. This was a broken collarbone wins the game this week.
Hey, you have to give props to my selection of starting Case Keenum, who had more touchdowns than any other quarterback.
I think it's more or less that you wish came true. Aaron Rodgers decided not to play.
Yeah, because when we look at your rest of your roster, that 18 doesn't look too impressive when we factor in your running game of 0.
Yeah, I know. That's still
why do you keep starting D'Angelo Williams?
Because he's the only one I have, and there's not a lot of running back depth.
He keeps thinking that Carolina's running backs are useful.
Yeah, well, I was. I picked up Mike Tolbert this week. Didn't you see?
Yeah, I know. He wound up getting 6, unfortunately.
Well, that's not unfortunate.
Shame.
That's not unfortunate. That's the pattern in Carolina. As I kept telling you, Eric Foster didn't really play. Terrence Williams' touchdown streak came to an end just as you were planning to use him.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
And unfortunately, your combo with Garrett Graham has not been as good in the past as it was with Owen Daniels.
No, considering that Daniels is on the IR, that hurts. Yeah. And my supporting cast has been next to nil.
So meant they have Fred Jackson get stuffed 3 more times when they start him. Every time they start Fred Jackson, he gets stuffed 3 times in the goal line.
Surprisingly enough, his supporting cast was equal to the task of mine.
It was. Kyle Rudolph was the only thing that scored for him this week was 6.
And I lucked out with New Orleans only scoring 20 points against the Jets.
Couldn't make a difference for Solmente. This was a backbreaker. They were looking to get the 4 and 5 here and back in this race. Now down 3 and 6.
And now they're going to have to make big adjustments now that Aaron Rodgers is out for a long time.
It looks like it's time to sell. This is just
3-6. You're right.
3-6 and your star quarterback out for the season.
Another loss might be time to sell, but at this point, it doesn't look very good.
Yeah,
for Solamente.
Not promising.
Not promising at all.
Well, our next game, though, answers the question of, hey, what do the Rough Riders look like when they don't have Denver's offense? And the result was, not too good. RG3 is no Peyton Manning, evidently.
No. It's 0 points this week. And the Rough Riders had a good opportunity, actually, to win this game. Looking at what they had, considering that Robert Griffin III went up with a donut, he could have actually started Antonio Brown, who had a touchdown. He could have taken the 21. He started New Orleans defense against the Jets, and the Jets wound up scoring a lot of points. So, yeah, there was a big difference there. Not too much of a difference, but with the combination of perhaps the 21 Antonio Brown, he still could take advantage of the fact that Boss Man elected not to start a kicker this week. Mr. Kicker had a bye.
Bossman's continues to not fill out their lineup every week. And they seem to win for some reason when this happens.
He got good numbers from his supporting cast, and that really was the difference. 12 from Newton, 6 from McCoy.
6 from Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen Gronkowski finally reached the end zone for the first time this year.
Yeah, you look at the offense-defense, which they clearly misinterpreted the Cincinnati-Miami game, unfortunately, and that cost them a chance to get more points in this game. But luckily for them, they walk into an opponent that puts up nothing, and this is another win. This is how Bossman has won in the past. They find their way to win the bad games.
That's right. And now Bossman is sitting now with a victory against the
one game behind Ben for the division. Maybe that first round bye isn't as so up as we thought for Ben.
No, it's not.
And looking for Ben, Denver only gets one bye a year.
They do. Well, hopefully for his sake.
Well, he's going to move forward with Denver. We know this. So,
yeah.
You know what? He'll still
that's why I said that. It's like looking for Ben.
You know, he'll write this off, and then he'll go back with his Denver front, and he'll continue to dominate.
Bad news for who he plays next week.
Yes.
And our last game, what would have been our game of the week, Bolts versus Smash Mouth.
Well, the dud of the week, really.
Yeah, this wasn't as fun as it looked like on paper.
He scored the most points this week. Congratulations to you, Tom.
New England's
70 points, and we can't criticize you for anything that you actually did this week.
No, not this time. Other than his love of Torrey Smith, which you know, I don't know.
Buys and injuries.
Yeah.
No, I can tell you that right now.
What matter if it buys or injuries? Torrey Smith is the equivalent of buy or injury.
New England put up 55 points for you, Tom. You dominated.
Yeah, this is old school. This is old school New England from last year.
Yeah.
Finally,
they put a beat down.
They did. Cincinnati's defense solid with 14.
Yeah, solid.
Billy, finally give me points.
Ridley 12. Right. This was like the Blitz's recipe for victory last year. This is a Blitz recipe.
I'm very shocked right now. Really shocked, and I think it's an excellent job by the Bolts.
Quietly, the Bolts have made their way to 6-3, and now in the second, and now control the last bye right now.
They do. They actually.
Hey, team keeps looking better.
They do right now. It has been wine and roses for a Bolts.
But you don't have a comfortable lead since I won my game only one game.
But you know what?
Everyone else does right now.
Yeah, just remember one thing too. If I keep winning my games, you're still one game behind me.
That is correct.
Well, we'll see what happens when these two meet up again later on this season.
The Smash Mouths actually could have started Bernard who had 12 and Witten who had 6 and St. Louis at 28. He could have taken 21.
There were a lot of lineup mistakes this week.
There were a lot of lineup mistakes.
Despite getting a good 12 out of Josh McCown.
That was pretty good. That was impressive.
Nice creation.
That elected me to sign Keenum. But you know what? It wasn't enough. No matter what he actually did, the score would have been more respectable, but the Bolts still get the check mark.
Smash Mouth don't really lose much ground, though, as their chief rival, Killer Toads, lose this week. So they still maintain a 2-game lead in the AFC, and they still are in good shape right now.
They're still sitting pretty. So Smash
Mouth actually, they lose tiebreaker against me. It chose for that second seed.
They do.
They do lose that.
Can I get the second seed as of right now?
They do. But they do hold the tiebreaker over the Rough Riders, so we're seeing teams establishing the grounds right now, but it's a little early for us to start looking at who really is in the house right now.
That's right.
But it's not too early to look at the Morocco displays of intelligence for the week, as it's that time of the year. Number 5, I don't know what's with the 21 this year. Teams keep using it and they keep making the wrong choice. Other teams, I don't know. When we have a 55 on defense for the week, why aren't we using the 21 more? I know the Falcons have abused that privilege enough this year and they can't use it anymore, but other teams are not using it or are making it at the wrong possible time. So this is a cumulative effort of the league here for being really moronic this year in their use of that. Another thing that this is a league one as well, incomplete rosters.
Not starting wide receivers and kickers.
Yeah, and tight ends this year. Apparently,
ironically, those two teams actually won this week.
Yeah, this week they won, but I just like to point out the ridiculousness of why no one is. I get players that bye weeks. I get they're injured players. That's what free agency is for. You can do this. It is possible.
Just gotta take
shame.
Trust me, no one's gonna. You have a player. Everyone has a roster spot with that player that no one wants anyway. That's the time to cut him and get what you need to fill.
Or that one player that you know that for that 1 week he would not be taken.
Well, in your eyes, that's Eric Decker, but other teams have other assets.
Hey, you know what? As of right now, the person who I replace him with
is out for the season.
Just as him, so let's see what happens.
I know.
I said just keep waiting before you say that.
Who wants to bet on this podcast right now? Eric Decker will outscore Sidney Rice.
I certainly think so.
Number 3 goes to a blitz. Well, that Super Bowl curse has been out there all year, and even when Seattle has a dream matchup against Tampa Bay, they can't get the job done when they really need it.
I don't know if I could really fault you for that. I think a lot of people actually would have chosen Seattle's defense.
Seattle got too cute this week with Tampa Bay. That's
First of
what
all, I
happened.
didn't even know if you thought Tua was starting in that game.
I did know Tua was starting, but it didn't stop me. Why change up what you know?
Yeah, to me, I can't fault you as much on that one, but unfortunately for you, it was
It's still fall out there at the end of the day. It's another hard luck loss for the Blitz. They have not had the margin of error this year has been so slim, but this is Morocco's display of intelligence at number 3. Number 2 goes to the Killer Toads and their
indecisiveness when to start Philadelphia and when to start the Colts.
They missed Nick Foles 7 touchdowns, and they missed it when they really could have used it. This was playing a weak opponent this week. They allowed the Hot Rods to take this game from them, and trust me, the Hot Rods were not doing much to take it away.
No. Despite the fact that Aaron Rodgers got hurt, he still managed to get enough points to beat you.
Yeah, number 2 is the Hot Rods. But our number 1 choice, Maximus may not win much this season, but he is making himself a routine feature this week on the Rock Displays of Intelligence.
Did not submit a lineup and still wound up with Pittsburgh's defense.
This would be a good time to trade out. No, imagine what you could have done with Oakland. You might have finished. I'll be happy
if you submit the lineup first.
Yeah, this has been horrible. When the weeks you don't submit a lineup, it costs you games. You've lost 2 games against your division rivals because of this. You lose another one because of laziness. Yeah, please trade your team, get yourself some draft picks, come back next year, with lessons learned. Because I have nothing else to say about the season at this point. It's been
hideous. It's been hideous for the Maximus right now.
Moving on to week 10, let's start with our game of the week.
The Smash Mouth versus the Boss Man. This is a pretty good matchup.
I love it.
Yeah, 2 6-3 teams. One divisional leader. One actually has the first position, a wild card spot right now. Boss Man played very well over the last 5 or 6 games.
Could be a future first round matchup right now. This is going to be great to watch. I look forward to seeing what these 2 teams can do. We also next up we got the Pigskins and Falcons.
That actually should be an okay matchup considering that I'm 5-4 right now.
This is a huge tiebreaker game for the Falcons. Gets them to 5-5 and holds a tiebreaker
against me. This is a huge game.
This can move the Falcons into the wild card position.
I agree.
And considering all the mistakes the Falcons have made, they are going to be happy they can sit here at 5-5 with 4 to go. Maximus and Blitz.
Who cares?
Yeah, who really does care about this other than that? Well, I guess if the Blitz...
Someone has to win.
The Blitz have a 5-game losing streak, so I guess, we can stop the torture.
Stop the bleeding. Maybe
this is just making that slim chance of hope of you making the playoffs. You need this win.
Well,
I would agree with that.
As the owner of the Blitz, I can say I am not betting on that slim hope.
No.
Moving on, we got the Killer Toads versus Rough Riders.
Tough
week for Rob here.
Tough week for Rob, considering how poorly he's played as of late. Now he gets to go up against the Denver Juggernaut once again.
Yeah, this is a tough time to get taken to the cleaners, and that's why I gotta say this is probably my blowout game of the week. I got a feeling Denver coming off the bye is going to be angry.
I can easily say 60 points.
And we could see possibly Rob not make the postseason for the first time.
In about 3 years. Rob's been our most consistent playoff house, and I started the year. I did think Rob wasn't going to do it this year. And if he loses this game 4-6, it could be over.
You're right.
Next up, Hot Rods versus Solamente.
Not much I could actually say here between these 2 teams.
Hot Rods going for 3 in a row, though.
They are going for 3 in a row. Looking for some consistency. They haven't at least given up. They have had submitted lineups. They're trying to get it back into the race.
Kudos to the Hot Rods for
give credit to the Hot Rods. They've won the last 2
this game.
I get props where these can be.
I like to think of this game as who was hurt more by Aaron Rodgers' absence, the Green Bay offense or the person who owned Aaron Rodgers.
That would be interesting to see exactly what happens.
I think that's what we can declare that game the battle of. And our last game is another fun little potential first-round playoff matchup. System Down versus the Bolts. 2
of the oddest teams in the league, actually. We didn't call this the game of the week, but we could have actually made that the game of the week as well.
We could have here, but
both teams are well-deserving.
This is a heat check game for both. Someone's win streak's going to come to an end here.
I want the system to win.
I want the system
to win.
I bet you do.
And your faith, if you say it's the same as this, it's futile.
Yeah. To me, if I win this game, this is great because I get to gain ground on at least one of the next.
That's why you want me to win. It's one less person you need to worry about.
Well, either way, I'll win.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing how Week 10 plays out. We're starting to feel those playoffs and playoff bursts coming along. I'm getting excited for playoff fever, even if I'm not involved there.
Yep. So am I.
Well, until then, good luck to you all this week. I'm Andrew Berg.
I'm Michael Berg.
See you next week.
Yay! How long?